Guys, let me get to Dave Birkett. He's on the phone with us, and he's got to be quick because Alex Anzalone going to speak at the top of the hour. Dave, thanks so much for the call, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. First and foremost, let's get to your thoughts right off the bat. David Montgomery in. It appears Jamal Williams out.
Yeah, I think Jamal Williams has played his last down in Detroit. Look, Jamal wanted to be back. I think the Lions, I know the Lions wanted him back. I think this basically came down to a contractual thing. The money that Williams was asking for, as people were asking for, just didn't seem like the Lions wanted to pay that. And at some point they had to make a call. And look, I mean, Jamal Williams is he was a beloved figure here last year for the Lions. There's no doubt about that. But I think as a pure running back, David Montgomery he's been a better player over the course of his career. He's younger, so it's probably a little bit of an upgrade for the Lions in their backfield.
Dave, I look at the free agent signings by Brad Holmes so far, 6 of the 7 on the defensive side of the ball. Buggs, Kaminsky, Anzalone, Will Harris, and then, of course, Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley. Clear sign which direction Brad Holmes wants to improve, correct?
Yeah, well, and obviously, re-signing 4 of his own defensive free agents, too. And, it's something that Brad said he would do. It's something the Lions have done the last couple of years. I think you look at the upgrades that they made at the cornerback position. That was really the area of focus, coming into the offseason. As the Lions looked at their roster, they saw a young defensive line. They've got all these first and second and third year players that are, they feel are ready to take another step forward. And they got a couple of young linebackers to pair with Alex Anzalone, a guy that they trust. And, really it was the cornerback position that, I think was a disappointment for them last year. And I know Okudah's back and Jerry Jacobs is back, and those guys may still see some playing time this fall. But really, the Lions got 2 potential starters in Cam Sutton, who certainly will start, and Emmanuel Mosley, who I would expect to start too if he's healthy. That should help that secondary.
Dave, appreciate your time. We know you got you quick, so I'll make my 2 questions very, very quick, one on each side of the ball. Starting with the offense. Offensive line is a big thing for the Detroit Lions. That's where they're the best at. Frank Ragnow doesn't play every game. Frank Ragnow's injured a lot. Is Evan Brown the next re-sign that the Lions need to do on the offensive side of the ball, or period?
Yeah, it's been, I guess, since late yesterday was the last time I had talked to somebody about Evan Brown. I think the Lions were still in the mix there. It's just a market that was still settling out, and frankly, 4 o'clock here, we should find something out, or maybe not too long after that. I mean, look, right guard is the one spot the Lions have open on the offensive line. Vaitai is coming off back surgery. I don't know that it makes sense to bring him back on the same contract that he had last year if the Lions do that. Right. Maybe that means Evan Brown is not coming back. If they do re-sign Brown's going to command enough money that I don't know if you can keep both Vaitai and Brown around. So I think that's still, some of those things are still to be determined here in the next, let's call it 24 hours or so as the new league year opens.
And I love the fact that Evan Brown can play center as well as right guard, but right guard definitely is his position. Dave, on the defensive side of the ball, they re-signed Alex Anzalone, not for a huge deal, but they re-signed him for enough, 3 years, $18 million. Is this telling you that they're going to draft a linebacker with maybe the 18th pick, maybe the 48th pick, and then groom him until he's ready under Anzalone? Because I can't go another year with Anzalone as the starting linebacker.
Well, I think he will be the starter this year. I mean, just the Lions and I've heard from a lot of fans. Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people on Twitter, email, whatever, who are like, "Oh, that's the one signing. Like, what are they doing? There were all these linebackers out there," and I get that, but Lions coaches do like and appreciate what Anzalone brings to the table. And but to answer your question, I do think the Lions have to address that at some point, right? And they have 2 young linebackers in Malcolm Rodriguez and Derek Barnes who, might have or could have rotational roles, starting roles even, but they really need a difference maker at that position. And so I think when you look at what the Lions have on their roster right now, like their starting 22 is pretty well set, and that allows Brad Holmes to, best player available at 6 and maybe 18. But if you're really sort of looking down the road and what the Lions need to keep this thing strong for years to come, I think a linebacker is one of those things that would be near the top of the list.
Hey, for coming on. We appreciate it. I got almost a draft question here for you. Now that they signed David Montgomery and you have DeAndre Swift in your backfield, Craig Reynolds, a backup, Jackson is there as well. Are they out on Bijan?
You know, when you said draft, Maz, I thought you were going to ask about Anthony Richardson.
You know what? I'm
won't
done.
even be there at 6.
I'm done getting abused,
Dave.
Dave.
Be there at 6.
Dave, I'm done getting abused. I am. I want him, but he ain't coming. What can I tell you?
No, I don't think it takes him out of the mix at all. I mean, look, DeAndre Swift is under contract, but he's under contract for one more year. And I would, if I'm guessing right now, I don't think he's back in 2024, right? And Craig Reynolds he was hurt a lot of last year. He didn't play much. I mean, Justin Jackson was their number 3 back. And look, I don't, had they not signed a David Montgomery or a back of that caliber, maybe Bijan would have been in the mix for him at 6. And that's probably too high for a running back in today's, day and age. But he's a really, really good player. And look, if he's there at 18, I don't know exactly how the Lions feel, but I'm taking him. And I don't think he makes it to 18.
Ryan Birkett.
That's it.
Dave Ermanni.
Hey, man, great minds, Dave. Great minds,
Forget
buddy.
that.
Right.
Great minds.
Look, I'll take the kid. But let's
he's a
go.
great player.
Let's pick at 6 right now, Dave. And we hear Jalen Carter might be slipping down. We hear today he had a bad pro day, gained 9 pounds.
Right.
I blame it on stress eating. I think he'll be fine. I stress eat my whole life. Nonetheless,
Drafted Sean Rogers at 400.
Are you taking him at 6, or is he big baby? What is he? Are you taking him? Are you trading it? What are you doing?
Well, the Lions have 6 weeks from today, I think it is, to find out. Because, look, if he's there, I mean, he is what they need. He's just an interior game wrecker, on that defensive line. And he might be the best, most talented player in that draft. But obviously there are a lot of questions about him, and that's not just about, maybe the weight gain or not doing some of the drills. I mean, a lot of them are legal, just to be frank, regarding what happened in Georgia with the accident that killed one of his teammates. And I know that it's 2 misdemeanors right now, but those are things that the Lions and all NFL teams, have to truly investigate and have to get comfortable with his role in that. I guess, his lifestyle or if he's prone to be involved in any sort of things like that. Look, I think if he, just based on a pure talent and tape standpoint, the guy would be a top 5 pick in the draft, and he wouldn't be there for the Lions. If he's there at 6, it's going to be hard for the Lions to pass up that type of player given where they are. But the only way you can take him is if you've done your homework and you're completely comfortable with everything that comes along with him.
Hey, Dave, I know you're up against it, but I do want to ask you, Alex Anzalone is going to speak momentarily there in Allen Park. I look at Levante David, 1 year, $7 million. David Long from Tennessee goes to Miami, going to be a starting backer there, 2 years, $11 million. Are you surprised that they re-signed Anzalone?
Not surprised that they re-signed him, and obviously he didn't, he's sort of in that, pay range, I guess. I mean, I guess I didn't expect him to be in the market for like a Tremaine Edmonds who got top of the market, linebacker money. Frankly, I think this just came down to like taste and comfortability, because all these linebackers, and there were some pretty good ones that were available, they all got paid in that general sort of, same range. And so the Lions, Anzalone's been with them for a long time, going back to New Orleans with Aaron Glenn, and he's coming off his 2 best seasons. And, certainly if I'm stacking those players, I look at a David Long and I say, I want that guy on my team.
Yeah.
But, I get where the Lions are coming from and sort of, what they're trying to do and how important they think he is. It's just, when you had all these options out here, you better not be wrong. You can't it can't be a season where Anzalone regresses and plays 11 games because of health, and that defense struggles again. Otherwise, people will look at that signing in particular and say, well, man, that's one that we really missed out on.
DB, it must be my birthday because it gave me the last question, so I will make this very, 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 very short for you, my friend. You're seeing Brad Holmes do an amazing job of not spending money. The players that he's going after, great price points. He's not being cheap, but he's being smart. Is there any concern that he's being a little too chill, too conservative, too cheap? Is there any danger of that, or are you good with what's going on right now?
Yeah, not by me. I mean, I sort of, I know I'm sure I've said this with you guys before. I've certainly written it. Free agency is fool's gold to me. It's good. You can patch some holes, and certainly there are, above average players that make it there. But the real true difference makers just don't make it to free agency. It had like a Deron Payne been there, like I would have thought the Lions should go after that guy. Nice. I think he could be that like interior, game changer that they need. But short of that, you weren't going to get a lockdown cornerback in free agency. So the two that they got, I like them both. I think Cam Sutton's a good player, and Mosley obviously coming off the injury, but played well for San Francisco, and so I think there's some upside there. I think they plugged some holes. The Lions, did maybe get a little bit out of their comfort zone and sign some of these guys, Anzalone and Sutton in particular, to longer term deals than we've seen them give out. And so, there is a small amount of risk there that something happens and all of a sudden you're stuck with some cap charges that you don't want. But by and large, I think Brad has done the right thing and play free agency the safe way, fill some holes, build through the draft, and sort of trust your own evaluation eye when it comes to the draft and getting the players you need that way.
The great Dave Birkett,
yes,
kind enough to join us here on WoodwardSports.com. Alex Anzalone going to speak momentarily. Dave, do you expect anything more, or could you go play that basketball game tonight now? Did Brad Holmes give you any indication?
Well, yesterday was my game's usually on Tuesday, but my daughter had confirmation yesterday, so I didn't even make it to play. But I will say, I don't know if he was looking out for me or not. Confirmation, went out to dinner, finished dinner, got home, bam, David Montgomery dropped. So, I like to think that even though I didn't text him, he was looking out for me.
Very thankful. All right, Dave, thanks so much, my friend.
Dave, appreciate you.
Check Dave out at thefreepressfreep.com. Subscribe to The Freep, and, of course, check Dave out on Twitter at Dave Birkett.